Another thing to cover, I don't know if I need to say again, I'm Tara. I'm autistic and ADHD myself. I'm a specialist behaviour practitioner, non-ABA. I'm a developmental educator. Anyway, another thing I often get asked to talk about is something called monotropism. So monotropism is like this polarized thinking that's quite common in the autistic community with people who are autistic. It's one way that there's a period of research about being a way to explain autism. And it's funny because like the Auslan sign for autism is, it's like mind and heart. So it's funny that monotropic thought patterns are very much about polarization. Now, monotropism is different to a hyperfocus, but a lot of people who are monotropic love a hyperfocus. So monotropic is when we're thinking and focusing on one thing. It doesn't mean we're necessarily in a hyperfocus. We're just concentrating on something at the time. I suppose it's different to polytropic focus, where a lot of neurotypical people can be doing multiple things at once and having equal bits of attention distributed between all these different things. Whereas the autistic person's better to do this first and then do this. It's easier with the way that our thoughts work and our brain works to focus on one thing before focusing on the other. Monotropism is probably behind what we call waiting mode. So if you've got like an appointment at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I know for myself, if I have an appointment then, often half my day's ruined because I can't do anything else because I've got an appointment at 3 o'clock. And it's like your brain goes into this waiting mode where you can't really accomplish too much else because you've got something on at 3 o'clock. For me, I make most appointments in the morning because that way I don't get in that monotropic thought pattern where I can't do anything. So monotropism is that focusing on something that makes your brain unable to do some other things or struggle to think about more than one thing at a time. It can also look like that inability to transition. But it may not be an inability to transition, which we call inertia. It may just be that you're not finished working on this first. So people will come to me with questions about work, say, and I'll be like, no, I can't do that now. I'm doing this right now. I'll do that later. We're talking about that later. They're like, but can't you just answer me? I'm like, well no, because I can't. I've got to put all my brain onto that and I'm not ready for that yet. I'm thinking about this. So I'm quite monotropically focusing on something else. Now that compared to a hyperfocus where I might get really immersed in researching something and and I'm trawling through the information, read, and that's a hyperfocus. So that's when I'm really pushing my brain into that flow state where I'm just absorbing so much information and shutting down other body processes or other thoughts or feelings in order to really focus. That's a hyperfocus, as different to a monotropic thought pattern.